Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Lomo Saltado. That's right, I've never been a big stir-fry guy, but when it comes to Lomo Saltado, I definitely make an exception. Okay, first of all, it's Peruvian, and I love to eat anything Peruvian, but it's also a stir-fry that besides the meat and the vegetables, also, believe it or not, features French fries. I know it sounds crazy, and it is, but it is also incredibly delicious and truly unique. And this is how I like to make mine. And what I have here is just over a pound of top sirloin steak. And all we're going to do here is simply slice this the short way into about 1/4-inch strips. And sure, if you wanted to splurge, you can use a nicer cut like a filet or a New York strip or something like that. Alright, some people even use skirt steak, which would be very nice in this. But top sirloin is fairly tender and pretty affordable, so I do think it's a good choice for this. So I went ahead and sliced up both those steaks, and then we'll transfer that meat into a mixing bowl. At which point we'll do a very, very simple marinade of a little bit of soy sauce and just a touch of white sugar. And then we'll go ahead and give that a thorough mixing. At which point we'll want to transfer this into the fridge for at least an hour. Alright, longer is okay, but we want to do that for a minimum of at least 60 minutes. So we will pop that in the fridge and then move on to take a little peek at the rest of the ingredients, which will include some red and green onions, some garlic, some ginger, and cilantro, as well as some Roma tomatoes and some beautiful orange peppers, which by the way are supposed to be these very specific Peruvian peppers called ají amarillo. But since those are hard to find, we're going to use a bell pepper plus 1 habanero. And when you combine that very mild bittersweet flavor of the bell pepper with that fruity and very fiery habanero, we're going to end up with something very, very close. Oh, and as far as prepping our Roma tomatoes, we only want to use the meatier parts. So what I like to do is go around making 3 cuts like this, which is going to leave us with just that center core, which we will discard. And then if we want, we can deseed these, or simply just slice those as is. Or in my case, just make a half-hearted attempt to get the seeds out. And then what we'll do once those have been seeded, not seeded, or partially seeded, is we'll cut each of those in half to make 6 pieces per tomato. And by the way, I only showed 3 in the shot of the ingredients, but in the spirit of full disclosure, I did end up cutting 1 more up, for 4 total. And that's it. Once our veggies are set, we can move on to the last major and most bizarre component, some French fries, which I'm going to cook in some olive oil set over medium-high heat in this nonstick pan. And for this, I like to use the frozen crinkle cut fries, but any French fry will do. And while you could deep fry these, or simply bake them according to the package directions, I really do like to do these in a pan like this, since it's definitely going to be quicker than baking. And also, I think we're going to be able to get them crispier this way. Plus, by doing them in the pan like this, they will actually absorb more oil, which usually doesn't sound like a good thing. But here I think it actually provides for a better texture in the final dish. And then what we'll do once those have cooked long enough is transfer those to a sheet pan, which for some reason I lined with a paper towel. And then what we'll do is pop those in a warm oven and reserve them until needed. Okay, so our fries are set. And then we'll take that exact same pan and place it over high heat, and we'll drizzle in a few tablespoons of olive oil. And we will wait patiently for it to become smoking hot, as in literally starting to smoke. And then once that happens, we'll go ahead and start browning our meat, which we are really supposed to do in nice small batches. And please feel free to do that. But I'm going to show you a completely inappropriate, absolutely horrible technique for doing the same thing involving doing all the meat at once, which is going to be easier and faster. But if you do it wrong, the meat's going to come out terrible, so pay attention. Because what we're going to do is place our meat in and spread it out, and we'll let that sear on high heat for just a couple minutes, getting as much browning as we can on that bottom surface. But as you'll see, after just a few short moments, you're going to notice a lot of moisture coming out. And as soon as that happens while the meat is still pink, we must quickly remove that to a bowl, leaving all those juices in the pan. At which point we'll simply let those reduce all the way down to nothing. And then as soon as all that moisture has been evaporated, and all we have left in the pan are those beautiful caramelized meat drippings, we will quickly toss our meat back in, being careful not to transfer too much of the juices in the bowl back into the pan. And then what we'll do is grab a spatula and simply toss this meat around for about 30 seconds to a minute. And what's going to happen is all that amazing goodness browned onto the bottom of the pan is going to be deglazed by the moisture on the meat and basically stick to it, so that when we pull this off and scrape it back into the bowl, it's pretty much going to look and feel the same as if we'd done this in small batches. And is it exactly as good? No. But is it so close that in a dish like this, no one will notice the difference? Yes. Much to the chagrin of culinary instructors all over the world, since like I said, it is absolutely horrible technique. But it works as long as you get that meat in and out of the pan quickly. And that's it. Once our beef is done, we can move on to final production. So we will take that same dirty pan and place it over high heat and add a little more olive oil. And we will toss in all our onions and peppers, along with a nice big pinch of salt. And we'll saute that for just a few minutes, or until our onions and peppers just start to soften up. Okay, we don't want them soft at this point. We just don't want them hard. And then once we think that's looking good, we will add our garlic and ginger. And we will cook that stirring for a few minutes, just to take off that raw edge. And then once that's set, next up we'll go ahead and add our tomatoes, which we are not going to cook very long. Okay, we are not trying to make a tomato sauce. So we're just going to cook those stirring for a few minutes until they just start to soften and they just begin to release their juices. And then as soon as that happens, we will pour in a big splash of white vinegar, as well as a few tablespoons of soy sauce. And we'll also at this time add our meat back in, with of course any and all accumulated juices. And we'll give that a quick stir to combine. And yes, that does look good. And just wait until you smell this. And that's it. Once that's been stirred together, we can finish this off by tossing in our chopped cilantro and our nice crispy, hopefully still warm French fries. And then we'll mix and stir and toss and turn until those fries are coated in all these amazing juices. Oh, and for the record, some people actually serve the French fries on the side so they don't get soggy. But from what I'm told, the real players always mix the French fries in. Of course, having said that, you decide. I mean, you are after all the major domo of your Lomo. But for me, serving the French fries on the side with this would be like the same thing as serving a poutine with the French fries separated from the gravy. I mean, come on, we're not doing that. And that's it. As soon as everything's been mixed together, we can turn off the heat and give it a taste for seasoning. And I decided mine needed a little more salt. And I was going to add some cayenne, but the heat from that habanero was perfect. And then once we're happy with it, we'll go ahead and serve it up. Believe it or not, traditionally next to some steamed white rice. Oh yeah, the rare and exotic carb-on-carb action. But anyway, I served that up and did a little bit of food styling. Very little. And then finished up with a couple sprigs of cilantro. And that's it, my Lomo Saltado was ready to enjoy. So I went ahead and grabbed a fork and dug right in. And that, my friends, is just a party on a plate. I mean, there's so much going on here, I don't even know where to start. Just so many big, beautiful, bold flavors. Okay, we're talking a little bit sweet, a little bit sour, a little bit salty, a little bit spicy. It's just one of those very addictive dishes that once you start eating, you can't stop sticking your fork into. And while I will admit it's very strange to put French fries in a stir fry, for some reason they totally work. And probably because they absorb all the other flavors from the other ingredients. And yes, the first time I had this, I could not understand the rice, but that also inexplicably pairs really nicely. And I will admit I've not done a ton of research about the history of this dish. Alright, I do know it was influenced by Chinese immigrants to Peru. But even though I don't know that much about it, I will take an educated guess and say that this was probably invented by someone that was drunk. Alright, I just get that feeling. But anyway, that's it. My take on Lomo Saltado. I totally understand if this seems a little bit crazy, but what would be even crazier is you not making this. Which is why I really do hope you give this a try soon. So please follow the links below for the ingredient amounts, a printable written recipe, and much more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.